So just a slight introduction. So we address ourselves as buddies here.
I see.
Buddy, it's like our own abbreviation for buddy.
Mm-hmm.
It is like a way of creating this kind of bond with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I just hope that this session will show some insights about game development to our fellow attendees.
Sure thing. So, should I start? Hello? Oh, I see.
Yes, Camp Master.
Oh, I see. That was pretty awkward. Anyways, good evening to everyone. Good evening to everyone who's watching the stream and also within our group here. So, I'm here today to talk about game dev and your introduction to it. If you're ever interested in getting into game dev or knowing what game dev is, but most cases, what we're going to be doing this evening, as I share insights on the first view, as well as address of a certain problem that we need to talk about within one another. Well, it's not really a problem, but more of something that one should know. So the things that one should know. So anyways, let's get started. Game dev. And this is a small talk about game dev. What is it? How is it? So essentially, before we start, my name is Irvin Rufu Bernarte. I'm one of the indie developers here in Cebu. I've been deving. I started dev way back in 2016. I have some unpublished games as well as titles right now that I'm working on. So I'm with Night Owl Digital, as well as I'm working with a different studio. So right now I'm working on 2 different games. I'm working on something called Atom Blitz, and then another more would be what do you call this project again, which revolves around the culture of playing Sipa, Philippine culture. But since we're Cebuanos, we are using Takin at the moment. Anyways, that's enough about me. Let's see and talk about what is game dev? What is game dev? What is game dev? May I ask anyone from the crowd in the stream? Feel free to chat or communicate in whatever way. I'll be tabbing into the browser and see. May I get varying opinions on what do you think game dev is? Hello? Buddies, what do y'all think game dev is? What do you believe game dev is? What do you do in game dev? Yes. You can freely raise your hand, by the way, if you ever have an answer. Hold on. Oh. I cannot seem to hear anyone's answer. Hello? Well, I don't know if it's quieter now, but anyways, let's move forward. It was a bit awkward, but anyways, let's just move forward then. So game dev can be a lot of things, many things that we think about. game dev is many things. Game dev is game development. Hold on, we got a message over there. Deving codes and scripts for games. Nice, nice. Sean Bontil. Okay, nice, nice, very nice. What about anyone else? Anyone else? Someone's. Oh, I see. I see. My apologies. There seems to be a delay, and there's a delay in the stream, of course. But yeah, my apologies on that. But see a process of developing platforms in order to showcase a certain game. See, fellow viewer. Okay, okay. I'm gonna take in one more answer, and then I'll give further more explanation. Yes. I'll just wait for one more answer, and we can move forward. Actually, yeah. I see. All right, let's move forward. So those are really, really nice answers, like developing codes and scripts for games. What do you call this? Processing and developing platforms. Yes, that is also part of game development, as well as it is also an expression of an art. So yes. Going back to our presentation, and our talk here is that game dev is many things. Game dev is music. Game dev is programming. The game dev is an art form, or it is art in general, and it is also script writing or literature. So these are like one of the big things of like what game dev is. One of the big things in game dev is, and when one is getting into game dev, how would I say this? When one is getting into game dev, there are over 24 jobs, and all of those jobs have sub-jobs within their jobs, actually. 24 jobs within their jobs, and what do you call this? In which you gain the process, you develop the process as well as a team. As we can see here, it enumerates from different things, from the administrative side to the artistic side, even the audio, and as well as the sections of programming. So nowadays game development has been very friendly compared to the olden days, where you needed to make your own engine or buy rights to a certain engine. Nowadays we have Unity engine and etc etc. More on later on. I'll share more during our Q&A. But anyways, proceeding forward within these certain things, it can be quite overwhelming. I've noted that a lot of our viewers here right now are what we call in our team in Night Owl Digital as level 0. At early on, there are many things that are, how would I say this? It's very difficult to understand once you get a certain wall within your development. Certain walls in development where you would need to how would I say this? Where you would need to converse these things within the game that you're designing. Games can, like I said a while ago, that games can also be a form of literature. Simple things such as just writing it up on paper is already a form of game development. Yes, but anyways, continuing, is that I said something about like we were addressing something called a door problem. The door problem, or a problem, by Liz England, is that whenever we're, how would I say this? Whenever we're in game development, we usually ask ourselves like these many answers. These are our way of answering to certain people that, oh, it's a game development is an art. Others would say it's also a science, graphic science actually. And there's also something, there's also when people say that game development is also a form of literature, in which, yes, it is a part of game dev. Game dev is comprised of many things. It can be also film. Game dev is also a sense of technologies. Nowadays, we use certain technologies to develop the graphical changes within our times in 2020. Way back then, fun fact would be the first game was made by a nuclear physicist that was developing the timer for the atomic bombs way back in 1946 and above. Yes, I think it was the first game. It's technically Pong, but Pong ain't the first video game. It was called tennis for indoors, or tennis for computers, something like that. Yes. So way back then, these are some like interesting facts I'm sharing right now. Is that nowadays it's very accessible to us, very accessible for us game devs. So yeah. So when I said the door problem, where we all have different answers and different explanations of what game dev is, and usually what I would share compared to my colleagues, colleagues would usually showcase game dev as like in a joyful manner. Well, you're supposed to enjoy it. You're supposed to give joy. That's one of the many things that are really fun with game dev. And that, how would I say this? And that one of the things that you need to motivate yourself on once you get into when you get into these things. But one problem is that sticking to a path. Yes, sticking to a path into what to do in game dev. At first, it is very overwhelming. From what I believe is that when you're still level 0 and you're still on the surface, is that it's very difficult where to focus upon within game dev. Focusing upon certain things like, should I focus on art? Should I focus on these things? And that to that I say we take it on a step by step matter. And this is when I say like, how can we use this problem, like by Liz England, the door problem that we're talking about right now. Well, the door problem is like having a hard explanation towards yourself when you start in game dev. Like, where do you want to start? That's the first question. Like whenever you gotta think when starting to learn, whether you're learning alone or you're a student in game dev, that's where you always gotta ask your question, yourself the question, the door problem. And an example would be as what do you call this? In the art of game design, a book that also answered the same problem as the door problem is game design. It's the process of making a game. It's really funny because it really sounds like how would I say this, or redundant when someone says, "Oh, game design is the process of game design," and when you try to explain it to someone, it sounds like you're explaining astronomy. But in general, you're just doing game design. That's it. So when someone says like, what are you doing right now? Or what am I doing right now? You ask yourself, you're doing, and then you got to tell yourself that this is what game design is. I'm doing game design. That's about it. So the door problem can be found in game design, and it's really confusing. And it may seem that our talk is all over the place about game development, because it is all over the place. Yeah. So, what do you call this? Hold on. What do you call this? One of the things in the door problem is like, with 24 roles that we have seen there, and then there are sub roles. It's usually a process of like, where to start. Well, when I said like, know what you want, the first step is just doing it. One of the things that we talked about with the organization I'm with is when we were trying to share game dev as a new thing, was that as a new way, as a new career program, we were saying, well, the best way to start game dev is just do game dev, and that's how you do it. But for me, find what you want, work on it day by day, even if a little bit, understand it, and move forward for it. So we gotta know what our door problem is. We gotta address the door problem and then work towards opening those doors and closing those doors. Yes. Anyways. So you're asking, how is this going to help me or you, like getting into game development, or when you're in gaming and you want to understand what game development is? Well, how would I say this? Well, it will help you like decide a choice. Back then, 4 years ago, when I was first starting out in game development, it was very hard, the decision where to focus on and understanding on which one to work on first. Am I going to work on art? Am I going to work on am I going to work on, what do you call this? Am I going to work on music? Am I going to work on coding? Am I going to work on design? I'm going to work on aesthetics. So these things are really overwhelming. And when I say, how is this going to help me or you, you as the audience or you buddies, is that, what do you call this? It will help you make a decision on certain rules that you gotta set to yourself. And there are tenets, or there are unspoken rules within game dev on how is this gonna help you. Well, number one, try it. If you've seen it, then it's doable. If you don't know, then try it. Number two is that and this is very hard hitting towards all of us. especially when we're kind of new and we want to work on a dream game, is that never start too big. Start small. One of the biggest things that we talked about within our community, within the community, as well as my colleagues and mine, is that big games are made out of small games, and ironically, they're made out of small games. And then number 3 is that always finish what you started and close those doors. Like, close those doors, or else they're gonna harm you. And then, yeah, I guess that's about it.